On November 21, 1915, Frank Worsley saw the stern of Endurance rise into the air. Then the ship slipped beneath the ice. The men watched until it was gone. For more than a year, Endurance had been their transport, their shelter, and their connection to the outside world. Now there was only ice beneath their feet. This is against the odds. True stories of survival, courage, and impossible odds. 28 men were stranded on the Weddell Sea. They had 3 lifeboats. Food, tents, dogs, and whatever equipment they had managed to save from the ship. There was no radio. Nobody outside the expedition knew exactly where they were. Shackleton initially believed they could walk toward land, so the men began dragging sledges and heavy lifeboats across the ice. Almost immediately, the plan collided with reality. The surface was not a frozen road. It was broken, ridged, covered with deep snow. Men sometimes sank almost to their waists. After enormous effort, they had traveled only a tiny distance. Continuing would consume more energy than it saved. Shackleton stopped the march. They established ocean camp on a stronger piece of ice. Then they waited. Waiting did not mean doing nothing. Food had to be rationed. Seals and penguins were hunted when available. Equipment was repaired. The boats had to remain ready. The men maintained routines because life without routine could quickly become something more dangerous. 28 people were living within a few tents on a drifting sheet of frozen ocean. There was almost nowhere to be alone. Disagreements happened. Fatigue accumulated, but the group still had to function. In December, Shackleton tried moving again. There was a food depot on Paulet Island. If they could reach it, their situation might improve dramatically. The men pulled the boats west. Day after day, progress remained painfully slow. After roughly a week, the surface ahead became nearly impossible to cross. Once again, movement had failed. They stopped. The new camp was given a name: Patience Camp. It was more than a joke. Their survival now depended partly on resisting the urge to waste strength fighting an environment they could not control. The ice itself was drifting north. Eventually, it might carry them toward open water. If that happened, the boats could become useful. Until then, the men had to eat carefully, stay organized, keep the boats ready, and remain together. Endurance was gone. Their original expedition was gone. Even the idea of simply walking home was gone. What remained was a group of people learning that survival sometimes requires action, and sometimes it requires knowing when action will only make things worse. For the next 3 months, Patience Camp drifted with the ice. Then the frozen world beneath them began to break apart.